So, the 2020 Academy Awards occurred last night. I'm not based in the US, so for me it's a case of instead of watching the ceremony, waking up in the morning and seeing who's won what. I've been following Martin Scorsese's The Irishman for years, ever since it was first announced, so naturally I was really interested in seeing how well it would do at the Oscars. Scorsese's film was nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor twice, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Cinematography, Best Visual Effects, Best Costume Design, Best Production Design, and Best Film Editing. 10 nominations in total. And how many did the film win last night? None. Absolutely nil. Yup, The Irishman went home empty-handed, in spite of landing 10 nominations. The big winner was Parasite, winning 4 Oscars including Best Picture. 1917 got 2 awards, as did Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But Scorsese's mob epic starring Robert De Niro, Al Pacino and Joe Pesci went home empty-handed. Now, I'm not going to sit here and moan and whine and throw my toys out of the pram. It is what it is. There are winners at the Academy Awards and there are losers. Awards don't raise or take away how much you enjoy a film. It doesn't affect how good a movie is. And the winners probably deserve to win. I can't really comment on the wins because I haven't seen most of the nominated films. But people were raving about Parasite. It seems to have been a really strong year for mainstream cinema overall. And there doesn't seem to have been a lot of controversy this year as opposed to recent years. But still, imagine having your film nominated for 10 different awards and walking away with 0. This is the second time this has happened to Scorsese, the first being Gangs of New York back in the early 2000s. There are 5 films in total that have had as many nominations or more without winning anything, the most extreme of which was Steven Spielberg's The Color Purple and Herbert Ross's The Turning Point, both with 11 nominations each. Then there's Gangs of New York, the Coen brothers' True Grit remake, and David O. Russell's American Hustle, and now The Irishman with 10 nominations each and no wins. You could see it coming though, couldn't you? The Irishman started off as a clear favourite for Best Picture. It was being lauded unanimously, but as the weeks went on, the hype seemed to fizzle away quickly. It did not win anything at the Golden Globes, the SAG Awards, the DGA Awards, the PGA Awards, or the WGA Awards. As the hype machine for The Irishman began dying down, it was just starting for the likes of Parasite and 1917. There was just no momentum for The Irishman going into the Oscars, and we all know how important campaigning and marketing and all of that stuff is for the Academy Awards. It's very surprising that Scorsese's film couldn't even pick up one award, not even a minor one. I suppose in the way, The Irishman was a jack of all trades. There was a lot of stuff that was great about it, like the acting, the screenplay, the cinematography, the de-aging effects, but nothing really stood out. There was no element that was a solid lock for awards, at least not for Academy voters. I mean, the visual effects in the movie were incredible. You had the production design, the costume design, there's so many things, but it looks like it was just muscled out by other films in each category. I would have hoped either Pacino or Pesci would have won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. I have seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Brad Pitt was good in it, but I didn't think he was all that. He's done some much better work in the past, and I didn't think he was more impressive than Pacino or Pesci, not even close. I thought the two guys in The Irishman were on a completely different level to Pitt. Plus, having him as a supporting actor is a bit of category fraud, really. He was pretty much a co-lead in the film, sharing as much time, if not more, than Leonardo DiCaprio. Everyone could see Pitt's win coming a mile away, because he was winning all the other awards and he hasn't won an Oscar yet, but I still thought the other two were better. De Niro wasn't even nominated for his performance, which is an even bigger tragedy. I mentioned in my initial review of The Irishman that I thought De Niro's subtle performance might get overshadowed by Pacino's boisterousness and Pesci being so different to what we expect from him, and it looks like it's happened, and to such an extent that he was completely shut out of all awards. I hear a lot of people saying that he wasn't good in the film, and though I'm sure if you filtered out the disingenuous Donald Trump fans there wouldn't be a lot of detractors, but how can anybody watch Frank Sheeran Appreciation Night, or The Plane Scene, or when De Niro and Pesci are having breakfast together, and say he was bad in the film? I think people just keep getting caught up on that curb stomp shopkeeper scene, which wasn't so much De Niro but the way the scene was shot. I wonder what the Netflix suits must be thinking now. They bet so much on The Irishman, they spent around $150 million on the film, and there's a rumour that they spent another $100 on marketing and a publicity campaign, which included changing a street in New York during the premiere to recreate a 1950s neighbourhood. Netflix were ahead of all the other studios in terms of nominations, and Marriage Story did okay with one Oscar, but what Netflix wanted was a Best Picture win, and The Irishman was their trump card, but it completely failed at the Academy Awards. They've been trying to win an Oscar since 2007, and their first serious attempt was with Okja, which interestingly is directed by Bong Joon-ho, the director of the current Best Picture winner, Parasite. I do wonder how much of a part the anti-Netflix stigma from the Hollywood elite played in The Irishman's lack of awards. Could it be that some voters were less inclined to vote for the film because they saw it as a threat to cinema? I know Oscar voters can be weird, like there's been a case of people voting for films they haven't even seen. And it may be that the whole Netflix thing did play a part, but on the whole I'd just say The Irishman was unlucky. It was a good year for film, from what I gather. You had guys like Pitt and Phoenix heavily campaigning for awards, whilst the likes of Pesci don't do anything of the sort, and it could be that Pacino and Pesci, being in the same category, ended up cancelling each other out. The Irishman is still a great film, and it's still a film that was nominated for 10 Oscars, which is no small feat. And let's not forget, at least it was nominated for a lot of awards. There's been numerous films from the year, such as Uncut Gems and The Lighthouse, which many people felt were completely snubbed by the Academy. Somehow I feel Scorsese doesn't care too much. I think he's just happy he finally got the film made in the first place. Thanks for watching.